Suneera Madhani. Suneera Madhani.
Without much further ado, I'd like to welcome Suneera.
Hi, I'm Suneera Madhani, a mom of two, daughter of an immigrant, and an unlikely entrepreneur who built a billion-dollar business. Yes, billion. Now I'm doing it again and building my second unicorn, Worth. Shockingly, less than 2% of female founders ever reach 1 million in revenue, and I'm on a mission to change that. At CEO School, we mentor thousands of women to help them level up in business and in life. We believe that you deserve to have it all because honestly, nothing bad happens when women make more money. Grab a seat because class is officially in session. Welcome to CEO School. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the CEO School podcast. I'm your host, Suneera Madhani, and today we are getting a bonus episode because, drumroll, it's my birthday. I am so excited. I've gotten more excited about my birthday over the years, and I feel like there's so much in life to celebrate, and we need to take the moments. We've got to celebrate the milestones. And so this birthday, I've literally put together, I don't even know why we have so many plans, but we're doing the things. I'm doing all the things, and I'm turning 37, so it's my 37th birthday. It's not a milestone birthday, but I do feel like in some way it is a milestone year for me. So as you have noticed in the things that we've been talking about every week on the show, I feel I'm definitely in this Suneera 2.0 energy. So everything from mind, body, spirit, work, there's been so much change in my life. And I think that that's worth celebrating. So I hope you join me in celebrating my birthday, not only on the podcast, online, offline. Shoot me a note. I'd love to hear from you in every single way. But I hope that I can spread all the excitement to all of you and you can celebrate all the amazing things that are happening in your life as well. And for those that finally guessed it, because I know my girlies out there, they're like, Virgo, she's a Virgo. We knew it. Yes, I am a to the T Virgo. And we've got lots of I have so many Virgos in my life somehow. My brother's birthday we just celebrated, and everyone was also messaging me about Faisal's birthday, which we did in Morocco. And it was his big milestone birthday. It was his 40th birthday. We had 30 plus people in Morocco that we hosted, that we celebrated. He had the most epic birthday just 2 weeks ago that we celebrated, but his birthday is in May. So he's a Taurus, which is actually the most compatible sign for a Virgo. But yes, I'm the Virgo. I'm the crazy, super type A. And with that, we have lots of celebrations. So how are we kicking it off? So first and foremost, I wanted to kick off with an awesome happy hour here in Orlando with all of my amazing gal pals and just women in the community. Community is a huge part of, and especially my city, especially Orlando. Y'all know this is my home. This is where I'm raising my kids. I moved around so much in my life and why this is important. So Sal and I went to 10 different schools in 12 years, 10 different schools. So I moved around everywhere. And I always talk about the most incredible upbringing that I had with my family. We were always so close. We, just the value systems, the immigrant value systems, all the things 100% define who I am. And I wouldn't change some things, but 10 different schools is a lot on a kid. And that's part of the reason why my brother and I are so close. We've been working together our whole lives because we've only really ever had each other. And my parents were always on a pursuit of their businesses, their entrepreneurship, which ended up obviously being such a great life for us and gave us such a big, strong foothold for us to graduate college, be the first in our family to do so, and all the things. So I'm so grateful for that. But also, as a mother now, that was something that was really important that, when we had a family or we're thinking about having a family, Faisal and I had that discussion. And I just admired so much his friendships. Even in Morocco, all of his friends, he had friends from, elementary school that had come. And so he has been able to have this amazing set of friendships, and that stemmed from community, that stemmed from them, him going to the same middle school, elementary school, middle school, high school. And that's definitely something that I wanted for my girls, is to have that sense of community. And so a lot of times people always ask, why did you start that? Why did you start the company in Orlando, right? And it's honestly, it's not because of Orlando was the biggest tech hub and starting a fintech business. It's because this was home. I didn't want to move. I was having a family and I wanted to have stability for my family. And so with that, the Central Florida community, the Orlando community is it's my home. And this is the place that no matter how much there's hustle and bustle in my life, I'm traveling everywhere constantly, I can always come home and I have friends and family that are rooted here. And now I've been here for 22 plus years in Orlando. So I consider myself a Florida native and I love our community here. And without community, I don't think our company Stacks would have been successful. We had the biggest champions in the community as we were building. And that's something that I encourage for all of you listening, building your businesses. You have to have community to support you. And how do you find community to support you is you've also got to find ways to connect with the community and give back to your community. So when you're giving back to your community also gives to you. And with that intro, I'm really excited for my birthday. I'm partnering alongside with an organization that I am super, super excited to be part of. It's called 100 Women Strong. And it is part of the Central Florida Foundation. And I cannot wait to tell you all about it and why this mission is important. And so with that, I have invited the vice president of Philanthropic Strategies for the Central Florida Foundation. I have here Nicole Donelson, who is going to share the stage with me today for today's episode. Welcome to CEO School, Nicole.
Thank you, Suneera. Thanks for having me here today.
I'm super, super excited. So I've got this huge bio here. I'm not going to read through Nicole's incredible bio, but what I will tell you is that Nicole leads Philanthropic Strategies for Central Florida Foundation, which is one of the largest foundations here in Central Florida. Within that, there are many subdivisions of it, and 100 Women Strong is one of the organizations that is within the Central Florida Foundation, which we're going to share with you here shortly. But Nicole has been part of the philanthropic ecosystem as a director on the business side, right? So this is a business show. And so she's been on the business side leading these foundations for over 20 years. So she has the most incredible experience. And when I joined the organization, I actually came in as a keynote speaker for this organization earlier this year. And I absolutely fell in love with everything that they were doing. That for my birthday, I've decided to find a way for all of you to get involved. And I'm hosting an incredible event at my house and hoping that we get 25 of those 100 women signed up within my friends and my network. So that's my birthday wish and that's my birthday goal. And I cannot wait for all of you to support me on it. And let's get to know Nicole a bit. So Nicole, welcome to CEO School. I'm super excited to have you. Can you share a little bit about how you got into philanthropy?
Yeah. I actually kind of stumbled into philanthropy not intentionally. I was sort of at an earlier stage in my life where I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do and started to work for a national nonprofit. And through that, really kind of discovered that it was a space that I had passion for. There are a lot of people out there who want to give back and aren't necessarily sure how to. Over that time and through many, many years, eventually found my way to the Central Florida Foundation. And at that time, I was working a job with a national nonprofit and was focusing on statewide. And my heart really was for focusing on the Central Florida community. And so coming to the Central Florida Foundation just had my eyes completely open to not only all the things that our community is facing, but also the incredible organizations that are working to help solve that and the people who are behind it. I know in kind of seeing your journey, you talked about how the community, Orlando really lifted you up and supported you in your process of building. And so you probably have kind of seen just what an incredible community this is and how much they want to give back and support. So fortunately, I've been able to kind of be in a role now where I'm working with individuals and families to help guide them through that process as well.
That's incredible. I would love to understand, I think there's a lot of, I think business and philanthropy does go hand in hand, right? And so part of our, we have a freedom formula here at CEO School that is really important. It's freedom of time, freedom of dollar, and freedom of impact. And I believe that the impact component is, I always used to think that it would come after I had freedom of dollar, but it can come at any time, right? It can come at any time. So I'd love for us to discuss how does the business and philanthropy side mix together, and how can we really, I know so many women that want to support causes and we're all doing it. I mean, women in business, we are championing, each other, championing other, our communities. I will say for sure that as a woman, I've seen this firsthand. All of the businesses, every woman that I encounter is creating a business out of purpose. So the businesses even that we're creating are leaving impact. So that in and of itself, because we're so exhausted from someone not solving a problem for our kids or for our business or for, a challenge that we're seeing in our industry. Most of the time that when women are starting businesses, we're starting businesses because we're so frustrated of no one else solving the problem. And we're like, all right, I'm going to take this on. And it's usually a purpose-driven business. So that in and of itself is the impact immediately within that. But how do we then pair, mission and impact to drive even business forward? Do you have any thoughts on what you've seen work really well for business owners and for community leaders here?
Yeah, you make a really good point, because I think people think of philanthropy just as how much do you give?
Yeah.
And giving it in a traditional way to a nonprofit, making, a donation, going to an event, giving at the cash register, whatever that may look like. And philanthropy is really beyond that. It is the time. It is, bringing your network. But also, there are people out there, and I think about too the business that you're building right now, where the social impact and their business impact are aligned, and those are social enterprises. And so it may be that someone's path to improving their community is through their business, whether that's nonprofit or for-profit. And so they are identifying an issue, a challenge, and being able to say, I have a solution that can help mitigate this issue. And even if it's a for-profit business, they're having a measurable impact on the community through its social impact. And so I think shifting the way that people think about philanthropy, that some of that work you could be doing along the way as you're building your business and growing it and seeing that impact grow, and defining kind of where are you in that space of what can you give back. So, is your time something that you have to give back to sit around a table, be, a mentor, or whatever that may look like? Or is it really just financially until you have the opportunity to step back and give the time that you want to invest?
I think that those are all like super fair points, and I totally agree. And I would add that what you talked about on alignment is really important. I think that, where the magic really happens from a business and philanthropy side is when there is natural alignment to the mission and vision of the company.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that where I've seen it most successfully, and you're totally right, it used to be real philanthropy in my head was where it's the cash, it's the monetary donation piece of it, or even the time, right? It's one or the other. But I do believe that there can be a brand alignment for companies. Like I can think of so many companies that have incredible mission, that have a philanthropic, a social impact component to, and they're for-profit companies. So I love that you mentioned there are for-profit companies that have a social impact mission to it. And if you align yourself with organizations that have that can actually distribute whether it's the socks, right? It's like buy the sock and give the sock, right? Or whether it's, local big restaurateurs, I can think of Four Rivers as one who then gives back, within the, for hunger and for it's a brand alignment as well from a brand perspective, I think is super, super important. And I think that it's never too early to start that. And I also believe that consumers are more likely to choose your company and your brand. And, the saturation is so crazy in 2024, right? We've got every style of business. You've got every style of business, and there's dozens of options to choose from. And I do feel like I will lean into companies that I feel value alignment with. And being upfront with that is something that I've seen more of a trend. And it used to be almost where it was polarizing, like you were almost like afraid to share that mission component or the brand value component because you didn't want to, upset the other side.
Yeah.
But now I feel like it's okay you got to go find your tribe, right?
Yeah.
You got to go find that community. And I do think that it's actually a better business decision to be upfront with your values, to be upfront with what you stand for, to be upfront with here's what we stand for and here's what we don't stand for. And this is how we're actually making an impact by you purchasing our services or products, and being transparent about that give back, I think is also important. But I've seen that as not just a trend, but I've seen that actually do great for businesses.
Yeah. I know you've talked about being Suneera 2.0 and some of the spaces that you're trying to kind of, these pockets that you're focusing in on, and one of them being impact.
Yeah.
How do you think about that? Like, how are you defining impact for yourself?
Oh, I love that question. Thanks for asking that. I think for me, I was so heads down in building my first company, which I don't look back and I don't regret that. I was able to, and I created so much impact. We onboarded, 40,000 customers through our platform. We served them so incredibly well. So I made a lot of business impact for small businesses through my last company. But I didn't realize the impact that I was having on job creation. Right? We had 400 employees at Stacks. We did multiple acquisitions. I did 3 acquisitions. I created so much shareholder value for our investors, which then they created, value for their team and things like that. We created just within our teams and the people that were directly on my cap table, we created 30 millionaires out of this community just off of that one transaction. The impact that that's going to have is a ongoing impact. And I didn't understand that as I was building it until, I think there was a moment, and I'll share the moment in 2020 on our first recapitalization of the business. So I sold the business twice. So we sold the business. We did a majority recapitalization. And within the majority recapitalization, and for those that a quick 101 is, so I sold majority of the company to a private equity. So they came in and they bought, 70+% of the business, which meant that they had to buy 70+% of shares, which came from our employees, which came from my shares, which came from shareholder shares. And so they had to purchase it at this new stock price, which was a cash exchange, right? So it's, cash for stock. And that was a liquidation event for our team and for our employees. And it wasn't 100% of a sale, but we got meaningful liquidation. And, I had to actually, because of the way that our tools and stuff were structured, we had so many team members. I'd given equity from the beginning. We had loyal employees that were with us from day one. So all of their equity was vesting and growing. And I had a list of, I think it was 80+ employees that Sal and I had to divide and conquer and call. And the bankers were like, we'll take care of it for you. And I'm like, this is the one thing, this is the job that I am dying to call such and such person and tell them that those shares are now if they want, they can sell these shares for, $342,000, right? And here's would you like to do this? And here's the transaction. And so we went down the list and Sal and I divided this list up, and I knew I get emotional thinking about it actually, but being on the phone with my team and not only it was it was a stamp of our hard work, but it's meaningful. It's meaningful. And it was 6-figure checks. It was, 5-figure checks. There were some 7-figure checks, and picking up the phone and calling somebody to say just check your bank account. This is what's coming tomorrow.
Wow.
Was moments that I'll never forget and conversations that I'll never forget. And that is impact. And that's what business impact can really have. And what I didn't realize though is that trickle down effect of it, right? When we do have success, and this is why it's so important that I believe that, not only for women-owned businesses to be successful, we are more generous when it comes to giving equity to employees, taking care of our team, and also we drive more shareholder values. There are facts that women-owned businesses, if we're investing in women-owned businesses, they're going to actually drive greater shareholder return, because we take those dollars really seriously. We're not messing around. If I'm taking someone's dollar, I'm going to make sure that I'm, not only, giving it back, but going to 10x that investment. And so there is that trickle down effect of when you are successful, not only I used to think it was about me, right? That was the 20s, in my 20s. Everything was even if I think about that in that moment of building all of that, that was oh, we created this, but I didn't know the trickle down effect of the impact that it can have on communities when businesses are really successful.
Yeah.
And they don't have to be successful on the the $1 billion level. That wasn't even that. That was I think that transaction was $242 million, which was a very large milestone as well. But it doesn't even have to be at that scale. It doesn't even have to be a tech company or where you're making even putting, like for me, having employees is I'm putting food on people's table every single day. That to me is something that is I carry with me. I have to do a good job. And as business owners, I know all of you listening can relate to that. It's stressful as well because you carry that with you and you want them to be successful. But when you're successful, then your team is successful. When your team is successful, then they can be successful for their community as well. So I didn't really understand that trickle down effect, but that was one avenue of it. The 2.0 scenario though, right? So like after all of that, I actually do believe that like it is mostly, I do think that you have to give, there's time, there's dollars, but then there's knowledge.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
something that I feel
Mhm.
like has been part of this like newer evolution for me to understand. Like it's not just about me showing up, and we used to do volunteer days and those
Yeah.
are all things we can do. Like those are all things we should be doing within it created for the most amazing team building for our team. Like we would pick a volunteer project, we would all get behind it. We always made backpacks for back to school. And that's something that even this year, without even, I carried that tradition on even in our home. So we, always pack backpacks. We did 100 backpacks this year just from our friends and family, but it was a lot larger at Stacks. We would do the Arnold Palmer Hospital. So we would fulfill all of we'd get the wish list and then we would all do the toy drive for a local hospital. But it really rallies the team and those things are important. The 2.0 part though is the knowledge piece of it. Like giving back your time and knowledge is also important. That connections that you spoke of, how can we actually go drive? Like we're smart, right?
Yes.
Like we're smart. We're business savvy. We can see things. We can put things together. We can solve problems. Giving not just the time to go do it, but giving knowledge to go drive greater impact, I think is that 2.0 piece that I didn't realize. And that's kind of in this evolution where I'm like, how can I actually be strategic on helping these, like just like this for my birthday? I'm like, great, I'm already part of the organization. How do we go drive meaningful impact? I'm going to invite my friends over. We're going to go do this thing and we're going to go drive results. But then how do we amplify it? And I think there's a knowledge component that I just completely had missed on this time and resources. So I think that's how I'm thinking about it right now.
Such a great evolution. Yeah. And I know obviously there's a certain element of gift of time, right?
Yeah.
Taking the time for reflection and kind of thinking about what I've done and kind of what does it look like moving forward. But it's amazing when you can bring entrepreneurs together in a room around an issue that is something that they're not even connected to and just have them think about how can you solve it in a new way, in a different way, in some way that hasn't been thought of before, and the ability to kind of bring those knowledge and resources together. I think you're so right. That knowledge and power can sometimes be even more impactful than the dollars that flow behind it. And it's so needed if we're going to continue to innovate our approaches to how we solve the issues in the community.
I think you're spot on. And I wish I I mean, it's part of the journey, right? We all go through the journey, but I really my goal for today's episode was I really want to inspire all of you listening here that what can I do, right? Even though sometimes we think we're small, we think so many women are just starting business. You might be in the early stages. You might be in that, under 1 million. You might be the 1 to 10 million, but wherever you are in that business journey, how can we really tie it back to purpose? And when you are also then aligned to purpose, you're less likely to fail, period. Because you're not going to let your purpose fail. You're not going to let that why fail. And so aligning that together, there is this level of success that comes with it because the failure is not an option. And so I just want to inspire and for you to think about that and take that home today of in your business today, how can you make that impact? And don't discount the level of it. Don't discount, if it's time, knowledge, dollars, whatever that is, how do you tie it together? And it is going to make for an amazing contribution to your business as well. I want to switch gears here for a second. I want to, something that you and I were chatting about last week. And I was like, you got to come on the show and talk about this because unfortunately we share a really not so great statistic together. So this show actually started on the premise that less than 2% of female founders ever break $1 million in revenue.
Yeah.
So when I heard that statistic, this was 2020, it was a Forbes article. And I'm like, holy wow, I did not know that the gap was that large. Yeah. And it made me furious and it made me curious. And that is literally how the show started. And last week when we were planning this event, you shared with me another 2% statistic, and it blew my mind. Do you mind sharing that with our audience?
Yeah. The Women's Philanthropy Institute shared that less than 2% of all charitable giving, goes to organizations focused on supporting women and girls causes.
Less than 2% of all funding, charitable funding, goes towards women's and girls causes.
Yeah. Which is wild.
It's
wild. And I mean, I know that people would argue that you think about, of course, women and girls are being supported through other avenues. But this is about specifically investing in women and girls in terms of what we know that they need for additional resources, just as you talk about supporting women who are going through, their business journey and their growth journey. There are things that we know that we need to support and get behind women and girls and really elevate that piece of the pie to support that.
I have no words. I feel like I had the same reaction last week to you of like, why? Where's the rest of it going?
I mean, one of a huge draw is obviously, human services. So, at the core, people want to support your basic needs because that's something that's so critical. But I think that there's a misunderstanding in terms of people maybe not being aware of the organizations out there that are focusing on it or what some of the issues are that are really facing women and girls. And when you look at it, you talked about the role of women in business and how they take care of, their employees, what they do in terms of thinking about investment. Women also are kind of that sort of core driving force within a household. Yeah. And so I think that it gets forgotten in terms of that particular role and sort of the support and resources that need to come behind the women in the household to be able to have greater impact. And so we kind of look at it as, we're giving to everybody, but there's a need to be able to elevate it. And I think it's maybe a disconnect between some of the knowledge and just knowledge and education, right? And connecting those pieces together.
Can you share a little bit about some of those causes or some of those programs or, things that you guys are doing at Central Florida Foundation that we can kind of think about for our communities, or how can we think about supporting women and girls? Where do they need the most amount of support that you see?
So I'll give you an example. You mentioned 100 Women Strong. This last year, one of the grants that they made was to Women on the Rise. The members had been educating themselves about something called the fiscal benefits cliff. So there are people who are out there that they're receiving certain subsidies, things that will help, that they can't access because they can't afford it. And so whether it's, food or housing, et cetera. And if they were to get a raise, think maybe even $1 or less than $1, that raise may disqualify them from receiving those necessary subsidies, but it's not enough to make up for the subsidies that are lost. So all of a sudden, you have people who are declining getting a promotion or a raise because it's going to put their family at greater financial risk. So they're here, and the fiscal benefits cliff is they drop right off. And Women on the Rise and 100 Women Strong wanted to ensure that you could have that sort of women's economic empowerment, have economic mobility, and not be at risk for being able to account for that so that your growth outweighs the loss, right? And so one of the unique things that they did is this was specifically focused on working with women through workshops as they considered some of the barriers for women to come and participate in this, and provided free childcare, food, so that there wasn't these limiting factors, because a lot of them are going to be even single parents, and they want to further themselves, further, their ability to grow economically and not have those things hold them back. And so that was a more recent grant that was made, but it's having a lot of success so far.
That's incredible. And, I think it's so unique because I wouldn't think about it from an economic, it is an economic impact that we're making, that's making, and I wouldn't have thought about it from that way. Sometimes when I think of, you're right. It's always like needs and necessities. I can think of so many organizations that come to top of mind that, like, the Pace Center for Girls and, some other local organizations that I've had an opportunity to spend some time with and to learn about. And it's disheartening to, even learn about within communities of just women not being safe, in their homes and, abuse and not having shelter, not having a safe, place to go. And these are young girls who, just want to be, go to class and go to high school and not having their basic needs from, women's, sanitary products or just period products and just having mentorship. And there's like so much systematic things that they just get stuck in, and organizations like PACE that are just supporting young girls and ensuring that they get out of those systems, they get the right mentorship, they have, women that they can look up to, talk to, get their first job interviews. But even just the basics, like even just having a safe shelter. And when you actually just spend some time learning about what's happening within the community, it's hard as well. It's like hard to see. It's hard to, it's hard to comprehend, but it's real, right? So we can't ignore it. It is real. And I really do believe that we should be making impact within our homes, like within our communities. I really do believe that. I'd love to get your perspective on kind of giving overall and then kind of where the community piece really like ties in.
Yeah, I think you're right. Women definitely influence kind of what giving looks like in the household. And even if you have a scenario where the couple, if the husband is the primary income driver, if they're married, the spouse is oftentimes having a huge impact on decisions around giving back and what that looks like. And then that impacts the children too, if they have children in the household. I think there's a desire among women to be able to think about their giving collaboratively and how they can work together to solve solutions and not work in a siloed space. So taking it back to 100 Women Strong,
Yes.
In thinking about their approach, it's really looking at some of the root cause issues. So again, not to take away from basic needs, because that's important. You can't solve an issue unless you're still taking care of the person today. But being able to look at, if I take a few steps and pieces back, what's at the root of this, that if I can help to tackle this issue area, it'll help solve not only the symptom that I'm seeing here, but kind of help to affect all the pieces in between. And that'll help the entire household as a process. And so some of that is focusing on women at the core and leaning into supporting them, but also recognizing on the philanthropy side the role that women are playing in terms of influencing and helping to make some of those decisions of engaging.
I think that's so great. And now, and I think 100 Women Strong does that so well. So what I love about this organization and why I'm so excited to be part of it is it's really about the collective, right? So I do think that we can have greater impact if we come together. And it's such a simple concept of saying we're going to get together 100 women. And there is a simple collective donation. It's $1,100, $1,000 goes directly to the cause, and the entire amount. The entire
amount.
The entire $1,100. I thought it was $100 even for the admin, and I was like, that's perfectly okay. The full 100%, which is so incredible that that's even happening. So $1,100 of a commitment. There's 100 women that come together to do this every single year, or more. But the goal is to have that collective 100. And then imagine the impact, right? That it's not just that one-time thing, or it's that one $1,100 or what I can do. It's that collective impact that's being made for the organizations that this group decides. And it's not done through like a pitch where it's like, here, I've got this one charity that I really want to support, or I've got this for this, or I've got that. It is specifically around, supporting women and girls. And causes are brought to the table. There's research that's put together to say, how can our collective really make an impact that's going to have that long-lasting impact? And so that's why I love that it's part of the collective. It's everyone coming together to go make meaningful action and I'm so honored that I get to be part of it. I'm so excited that I get to share it with all of you. I'll be linking 100 Women Strong into our show notes if you are interested in joining me for 100 Women Strong as part of our 100 Women. I would love to have you. Just shoot me a direct note as well. You can also donate, as little as you want as well to support the cause. So I'll be linking all of that just to get educated as well and seeing what you guys can do within your communities. But that's what we'll be doing in honor of my birthday to hopefully, I don't want presents this year. Just want to bring my collective together and even just awareness, right? Like this, I think is just even if nothing comes of it, I know that everyone listening, the 50,000 of you that listen, right? You're listening, and I know that we're making impact because we're leaving that little seedling in your ear of how you can make an impact within your communities. And I really hope that we change that statistic. I really hope that we can change that statistic. Is there anything else that we should be thinking about, or things that we can support the organization with?
Well, I was just going to say, I know you talked a little bit about the giving circle kind of model and how it's different. I think a lot of times, women love to give collaboratively and kind of pooling their funds together. And you also talked about earlier about the ability to use your knowledge. And so what's really great about 100 Women Strong and other groups that are similar is that it creates an opportunity to tie those together. And so you're not being reactive in your giving. You're not just inviting nonprofits to come and say, okay, what are you doing? Tell me. But we really want to learn more about what's happening in this specific area. For instance, this year they're looking at women's health and well-being, and they are taking the opportunity to listen to subject matter experts and have a chance to enhance their ability to understand what's happening in the community, and then be able to be supported in kind of guiding a decision around how are they going to invest those dollars and work with other organizations to help affect that. And so it allows you to be able to think differently, a more proactive and strategic approach to your giving. I think when you're an entrepreneur and you're super busy, these types of giving circles are great entry. You can be as involved or uninvolved as you want to be and still be a part of the impact. And you can lean in and lean out as you see fit to kind of go through that journey. And so it's a part of a process. And so I think this is a great space for someone who's kind of trying to figure out what their path is and how they want to have an impact and give back, and also build a network of other women who are just as passionate, and some who have great experience and expertise that can share, their journey. And so you build some, philanthropic mentors in the process too, that can help you along the way.
Well, I'm super excited, and I feel like thank you for embracing this next part of my journey as well. I'm like so excited that you said yes to coming on to the show. I was like, can you please come on and let's have this conversation with women. I know that they appreciate you. How can we support you directly, Nicole, or support the foundation directly? Can you share a little bit about where we can find you and, how we can support?
Yeah. Our website is cffound.org. And, one of the ways is obviously 100 Women Strong. If you're local, you can get involved, and we'd love to have a conversation with you. I would just say, if you're in the process of exploring what it is that you want to do to give back, reach out to us. We're happy to have a conversation and kind of help guide you in that process. And I just want to say a huge kudos to you, Suneera, for having this conversation. I think that when you look at the list of people who are giving back and impacting the community in a big way, we don't see a lot of young women, especially minority women, who are in that space. And you're kind of helping to carve away that and inspire others who are going to think about what it is that they're doing to give back. So appreciate you speaking about that and sharing that back.
Well, I'm humbled, and I appreciate all of you, because this is my why. These women are my purpose, and together I really do believe that we can make the world better. We can. I have so much optimism and hope, even through all of the crazy constantly, that I think if we can all just reflect on the humanness in each other and support the human side of of each other, then everything else falls into place. And I really, really believe that about business. And I feel like I challenge every single person that comes my way that doesn't believe in that. But just being authentically who I can be, to show up exactly as I am, I hope I can inspire you to be the same and to create change in your own way. Thank you, Nicole, for this amazing conversation. And thank you all for celebrating my birthday with 100 Women Strong. I will see you back on Monday for a back to school episode of CEO School. I'll see you then.